Hi, I'm Becca and welcome to my channel. Today I want to show you how to use my folded beads I've released a video on recently. I shall link that in the description box below if you've not seen that video. I just thought I'd do a video just showing you a few things that you can do with it. There's so many different options of what you can do, and I didn't want the video to be hours and hours long, so I've just done 3 different things in this video, but I have got some more ideas that I'm wanting to do, so if you want a second video on it, then let me know. So I'm going to show you this really simple dangle earring, or pair of earrings should I say. So those are the really simple ones. Then I'll go on to showing you how to make these bracelets, and this is just a straight string bracelet. So it's really simple again, and probably the more time consuming one are these ones. I go through using the making the green ones with you. So that's just those, and the blue ones are ones that I've done when I'm prepping for the video. I just like to do a sample just to make sure that I know how they're going to lay out, and I know what I'm going to be telling you that's how to make it. So let's get started, and I'll show you how to make these earrings and bracelets. Right, so the first one that we're going to do is this type of earrings, a nice dangly one. You don't need that many beads for this one. You just need 10 of our rounded folded beads. Can't think of what else to call them. So yeah, so the rounded folded beads, and you need 10 for each earring if you want to do it the same length as what I'm doing. You also need a pair of earring hooks, a thread protector, some sea beads of whatever colour you decide that you want to do them in, or whatever colour you've done your beads, and then I've got some little tiny crystals. I think they're like 2 or 3 millimetre, I'd say. They're really tiny. If you've not got crystals, just use some more sea beads. Just use whatever you've got really. So you need to just take a nice length of your beading thread. This is Nicole beading thread, but it's light 9. I got it from what was it? It's either AliExpress or Wish, somewhere like that. I got this one from, because yeah, I think it was actually AliExpress I got it from, because the other ones I've got from when I went to the craft show last year. So anyway, let's crack on with it. So you just want to take your thread protector and just come up one side with your needle. Make sure you don't pull the end through altogether. So what we're going to do is come back down the other end. Oh, I'm going to pull it out. There we go. So we just pull it so there's just enough for you to be able to tie a knot. You want to leave enough for you to be able to tie it again when you come back up to that end. Okay. So this will stop everything falling off the other end now. There we go. Then don't worry if it's gone look like that, just pull it back down to the bottom, and then we're ready to bead. So I'm using 10 beads on each earring like I've said, so you want 20 seed beads on depending on whatever colour you're using, so just pick up your 20 seed beads. See, these are probably the cheap ones, because there's some that are not the same size as the other ones, but I'm using what nobody's really going to see on your earrings anyway, because the main focus is the folded beads. And was that 4, 5, 6. There we go, so I've got my 20. Just pull them back up to the top where the thread protector is. Now you just want to take one of your folded beads and come in from the pointed end through. Just make sure right, yeah, you can see me. And then just pick up one of your crystals or whatever you're using, and then come back up. And then this is all we're going to do all the way back up, but we're going to do it in every other bead. So I'm back up at the bottom now, so if you just Remember to keep it loose because you don't want your beads to look like they're sticking out, like they're rigid. You want to have movement in them. So just come up 2 beads. And then repeat. And that's all you need to do all the way along. Pull that down. So I'll crack on with doing this because you don't need to see me doing it all. So I'll fast forward through. I'll leave it on the screen so you can see me doing it, but I'll fast forward it because it's a bit like watching paint dry otherwise. Folded beads put on now. I'm just coming back up to the top where we tied that knot to start with. And tie it again. And you can put more beads on if you want. If you wanted to keep it the same length but you want it to have an even fuller look, you could put one in every bead. So you could have 20 of them on there. Or just doing it like this, so you could see the dangle a bit easy really. So I'm back up the top. Now I'm going to go around my thread protector a few times just to make sure that it's strong enough. You could go back up and down the full length of the earring again if you wished. They're not going to get too much pull on it unless you catch them, of course, but I've not bothered when I've made earrings before. You know, if I'm just doing this sort of one, I've not gone down and around a few too many times. But it's always an option if you want to do that, then, and you feel more comfortable with it, then you do it. And my threads just come over the edge of my thread protector, so I lift it up, and then I found if I put it between my fingers and then just pull it taut that way, it makes it go where I want it to. So I'll go up and around one more time. And try not to get your thread tangled up in your beads, otherwise you're not going to have a nice tangle. Already had to detangle one knot while I've been filming, so I don't fancy having another one. There we go, and tie it again. And just take some scissors and just snip off the thread. Like, you could always put a little tiny dot of super glue or something just at the bottom here if you wished. I don't bother, but it's again personal preference of what you want to do. And you just want to take your earring hook and then just take some round nose pliers, just open up the hook at the bottom. Just realised I've got a bit of thread sticking out there and I don't want that to catch on anything, snip it off. And then just pop the loop of the thread protector over the end and then close it back up. Make sure you close off that ring just to make sure that they don't come off, and then when you hold it up you've got your earring. So you've got a lovely pair of earrings there. Ooh, that don't take no time at all. So I'll clear these beads away and I'll come back with the next one. So the second thing I want to show you is this really simple bracelet to make. It's just a straight string bracelet. You don't really need much to do it. It's just looks really effective with how the beads all sort of slot together. So as you can see, it's got a clasp on the end, and I've used one of the rounded beads as the toggle, but then I've used the other rounded beads just as the main of the necklace. Not necklace, bracelet even. So I've got my thread all pulled out. Now I like to try and keep it on the end when I'm doing a bracelet or a necklace, just in case I need to pull any more thread off. So what I do is I take one of these little plastic hairband things that you can get and tie it round the bobbin if it wants to stay on. And this just stops it from keeping on ravelling while you're working, and it stops everything falling off the other end. So you want to start off with your rounded bead at the top, and I'm just going to come up from the point up through the middle of it, and then we just want to take one of these little crystals, the same ones that I used on the previous earrings, and pull it down. Okay, so you've got that going in there. And then you just want to, don't go back through that crystal again, just come back down through here. And I'm just going to give it one little knot just to start off with. There we go. So we know that's going to be the end of our bracelet. Now all we're doing is just putting these straight on, one on top of the other one. So we're going to go from the curved bit at the top and then come through the pointed bit. Now on this bracelet I used 18, that's for my bracelet size. Now depending on how big you make the beads, these ones I've made are bigger than the other ones. It all depends on how big you're actually wanting the bracelet, because my daughter's wrists are a lot thinner than mine, so when I have to make something for her I don't put as many beads on it simply because it's shorter. So you'll just have to measure if it's for yourself or for anyone else. If you're making it as a gift, then just try and find out how big you need to have the bracelet. Plus it depends on how snug you want the bracelet to be, whether if you want it to be flowy so it can move around, you know, as you're moving your arms, or whether if you want it to be more rigid. Personally I like to have some movement in it, so it's like this, so it's not stick, you know, like stick jewellery really. So I'm just going to go and thread all these on, and I'll fast forward to this bit. So I've got them all lined up, and if you keep it nice and loose they can turn around, so you'll have them going in different directions anyway. This is just if it's laid completely flat. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have to guesstimate how many seed beads we're going to need to go around our little toggle at the other end. So these are probably a size, that's a dodgy size one, let's get rid of that. I think it's probably a 11 or a 12, so just use what you've got. again, it will depend on what size bead you're using for your toggle as to how many beads you need to use for this bit. Try and keep it to an even number, simply because it just makes the next step a little bit easier. So I've never got so far. 2, 6. Right, so I've got 20 on there. So the way we're going to find out whether if this fits alright, so we'll just, don't go back through those CBs, just go back up through the point of that last folded bead. Now I don't think this is going to be quite big enough, but we can see. So just hold it taut so it's not flopping around everywhere. So we need it to be able to go over the bead, but we don't want it to be able go over too easily, because we don't want it to fall off. So that's obviously not enough. So I'll go back down. And this part is always going to be guesswork, really, especially if you're using handmade beads, because they're all going to have slightly different sizing to each other. But if you're using, say, shop bought beads that are measured out and accurate, then you know what you're going to be able to do each time, really. Right, so I'm going to try adding another 6. So I think this looks a little bit more like what we want. Oh no, I think we'll try taking 2 off. I want you to see this part of the process, because now when I'm doing it, I never know really what size I'm going to do, and I want you to know that it's just a process, really, of finding out, you know, by trial and error. Because depending on what bead you're using and what size your toggle is at the other end, it's going to vary on every piece of jewellery that you make. Got a bit of a twist going on there. So, and I think yeah, I think that'll be alright, because once it's in and it's twisted round, and plus once we've done the next step on the clasp, it's going to tighten it up a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go all the way back up to this end, and then I'm going to come back up through this bead here, and I'm going to add, not come through this crystal that we've already put in, I'm going to put a second one of these in, and then come back down straight through and come back up to the other end. So I'll go and do that off camera, because you don't need to see that, but all I'm doing is just adding another crystal at this end. You don't have to add another crystal. If you just want to go through the one that you've already put in, feel free, that's up to you. I just want to put another one in. So I'll go and do that, and I'll meet you back when I'm back at the clasp. Right, so I'm back down at our loop now, and we're just going to come up every other bead. So I'm going to go up, go through one, and then I'm going to take 3 of our little seed beads, and then we're going to go back through the one that we've come out, and we're going to miss a bead and come up the next one. So we're doing every other bead, and then when you pull those 3 taut, then you'll get sort of like a little triangle bit. Oh well, you can actually see that there. You'll see though when you're popping them together. So I'll do one more with you. So see whether you can see them, because they're a little bit loose at the minute because we're not tying them up, but I'm trying to hold them up so you can actually see the way that they go. I don't know whether if that's, hopefully that's not blurred and you can see what I'm showing you. Sort of go in like a little triangle, like a little bump. Right. Ooh. Come on, don't get knotted up on me. So I'm going to finish off doing these and I'll meet you back round at the beginning of the loop. So I've got all the way around now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come back down this way and put another crystal in. I might not have enough thread to come backwards, but I'll see how far I've got with that. So once I've got here, then I'll come back if I need to show you how to pull the thread off the reel again. So I'll be back in just a second. So I managed to get up and back round without having to let any more thread loose. So I'm back at my clasp again. So what you want to do now is you want to come up, see through that first bead that we went through to start with, and then back up the first two of that little peak. This first one's always the fiddliest, for me anyway. Right, so you're going through that first one and then you're going up through two of the first point. So now what we're going to do, I'm just going to pick up another bead and join it to the next peak. So I've got my one bead and then the next peak I've got there, so we're going through the middle one, you can see just about there, and come through. And we're going to do that all the way around. So I've got all the way around now, so that's just pulled all those beads together. So I'm going to come back down the last ones and I'm going to go back round that loop again just to reinforce it. So come back up the way that you went originally and go down. Now this loop is probably the bit that's going to need the most reinforcing, and we've gone round it several times now. This is probably the part that's going to get tugged on most because it's going to be going around the toggle at the other end, and bracelets obviously they're going to get caught when you're moving your arms and things a lot more than what earrings do. So extra reinforcement's always good when it comes to this sort of thing. All the way around now, so I'll just come back down this field. Okay. So all we need to do now is we're just going to do some tying off. So because I've got enough thread, I'm going to be tying off in between each of these beads here. So I'm going to do a knot on this one. So I've just looped it round. You can just about see what I've done there with the thread. Oop, undone it again. So loop it around. You want to make sure that you've got a loop and don't get it stuck round the other beads. That's because I've tried showing off and doing it first time. Right. Do it now. Right. I'm going round. We'll get there in the end. And then oh, where's my needle gone? Yep, and pull tight. And then I'm just going to go back up between each bead and do that again. So you just wrap it around the thread, go through the loop and pull tight, and I'm going to do that all the way up to the other end, and then I'll show you how I fasten that one off. So we'll be back in a minute. Right, I'm back at the other end now and I'm just ready to off. So I think I was cutting it just a bit close on thread wise, but I just wanted to make sure that I didn't need it anyway. So let's just take this off. I'm just going to take a little bit here so that I can give it a last good knot here. So I'm going to take the needle off now. And just do a few more knots. Now if this bracelet manages to fall apart then I've done something wrong. The amount of knots that I've put in it going up and down and the amount of times I've gone through it, and it shouldn't do anyway. I'd have to get some real force pulling on it for it to come off. And then again, if you want to, you could always put a little dot of super glue next to your knot if you're concerned over that, but we should be fine. And then just snip off, and then that's our bracelet finished. So as you can see, they can twist around so they can look like they're supposed to be like that, or you can have them going out just nice and flat that way. So yeah, that's just up to you how you want to wear it. So I'll clear these away and I'll come back with the next one. Right, so to make these earrings, we're going to start out, we're using some of the square folded beads that we've made. Ooh, chucking it now. So you're going to need 4 of them to do this, and just a really little small piece of felt. Now this is quite stiff felt, but you can use some, you know, if you've just got some of the regular felt and you want to make it stiff, you could either get some starch and spray it on and let it stiffen up, or you could put on some iron-on interfacing on the back of it to make it more rigid. So, but this is just what I've got. So you need a very, very little amount of it. So I've got my thread like I had before. I'm just going to come and try and come up relatively in the middle. I always like to go back down and back up again. I've got a knot in the end of my thread, but I always like to make sure that I've got it tied on really well. I've got a really long piece of thread as well at the minute, probably longer than I actually need. So just make sure I'm on camera and not coming off. So you want to get the first one and just come up through the point, and then up through the fold bit. Pull it through. And then we're going to hold it in place. I'm just going to tack it down as close to the bead as we can get it. And then I like to go back through it again just to make sure that it holds it down. So if you do just the once, it's still quite sort of flimsy. So I always like to go through things at least twice when I'm doing this sort of thing. Okay, so we've got that one on there. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to put all these on so that they meet in the middle, like this. Okay, so I'm just going to do the exact same thing until I've got those all in position, and then I'll come back and I'll show you the next step. Right, so I've got them in our set of 4 now, so they look a bit like a 4-leaf clover when they're like this. So the next bit I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little rhinestone or crystal in the middle, whatever you want to call it. So if you can try and come up in the middle again, like you've been doing, to actually set the beads in. And then, in fact this is a rondelle, I think it is. I think it's about a 5 or 6 millimetre, I think. I've not got my measuring thing next to me, so I can't double check, but whatever you've got, make it work, because like I've said before, with all of these beads you're going to need different sizes for whatever size you make your beads anyway. So this is just what I'm using because this is what I've got. So I'm just going to take a seed bead. I think these are size 11s that I'm using. And just back down. And then I want to try and come back through it again, just for reinforcement purposes. So this one part's probably the fiddliest, trying to come back up. And through the seed bead again. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place these little pearls that are just here. So I'm going to put one in between sort of like the fold part of the beads, and then I'm going to do one on the inside as a joining bead. So don't matter which one you start with, just whichever you prefer. So I'm just going to come up on this one, and then I'm going to take my pearls and then I want to lay it down into position. And you know where you can put your needle. And then again I'm just doing that reinforcing. And then I will move on to do the one that's in between the two beads. So I'll try not to drop it. Go over there. And then come up here, and then I'll just repeat that process. So I'll put the rest of the beads on now. So I've got another 7 pearls to put on. So once I've got back round to this side, I'll come back and I'll tell you what to do next. Right, so I've got all the pearls put into place now. What we're going to do now is we're just going to put some seed beads around, and we're sort of just going to go around this bit of a joint in between the pearls and the folded beads. So wherever you've come up, so you can come back up. Cannot get the right side of the bead. And then I'm going to come through it again. Now again, it will depend on your size beads yet again as to how many you're going to need and how big your seed beads are as well. I can only give you the numbers to what I've figured out my size beads are going to need. So you'll just have to have a play around and try and figure out what the amount that you're going to need for your beads. So I found out that the 6 that generally go right around this one as I was doing the other earring. 4, 5, 6. And then wanting the join to go down where the next pearl would be. So I'm just going down next to it, I'm not going through the pearl. So I'm then pulling them down, and if I lay them down flat, then I want to just come back up sort of in the middle where the point is of that folded bead, and then come through any of those middle two, and then come back down through the felt. Make sure you've got it in the position that you want to. And you can always put another tacking stitch in if you want to get it into a different position. Like I said, because they're all handmade beads, it's going to be you're going to have to sort of manipulate it around the shape that you've done it. You might do yours more pointed, you might do them more open. So like I said, just play around with what you've got and then see what you like really. This is just what I figured out when I was doing the video. So just put that down. that going round. So I've got that little point. So I'll come back up. I'll go through round the pearl again. And I'll just repeat that process. So another 6 beads, tack it down, go through the pearl, and another 6 beads. So I'm going to do that going all the way around until I've got these little peaks there here, I think just about to say, at the top of each of the folds of the bead. So I'll go and do that, and I'll see you for the next step. So I'm back round at the beginning, and what we're going to need to do now is we're just going to trim this excess of felt away. Now if you don't like the look of the colour felt that you've got, you can always use a Sharpie or a permanent marker, something like that, just to colour your felt in. I quite like the look of the white popping through it, so it just brings out the white of the folded beads that I've made. But like I say, if that bothers you, you can fill it in with more seed beads, or you can just colour it in with a Sharpie or something like that if you've used a white felt. So when you're cutting around your piece, just keep your thread taut away from where you're going to be cutting originally, and you want it close up to where you've done, but not too close that you go and cut your threads, because I've done that and it's very maddening. So we're just going to go around, so we're only doing like a rough circle. And you can keep checking, like turning it over and checking that you've not got into your threads that you've done. Once we put the outline beads on, it'll turn it more into a circle looking pretty much. So as we're doing this, it don't really matter that it's, you know, not a perfect circle as it is. So you want to try and get it as close as you can, so that you've not got too much of that overhang of the felt showing. Unless you want more of the overhang showing, then you know, then you'll leave it. But this is just how I'm doing mine. Okay, so I've got as close as I can. I'll put it close up here so that's not gone blurred. So right, now what we're going to do is I've got this sort of like faux suede leatherette type stuff. I got it, that was another thing that I got for AliExpress with some, it was some bead kits and things, and this was what they'd sent in as backing. So I'm just going to go around now, so just line it up again. Again, careful not to snip any threads. As you can see, it's not a perfect circle, but once you've beaded it, you're not really going to be able to tell that it's not a perfect circle. So I like to put a little bit of E6000 on. You don't have to, it just helps it sort of stay in place while you're trying to do your beading. So in fact, before I put that on, just get your thread and bring it back up to the top of the felt, because that's where we're going to start beading the edging around it. So just get a little bit of this. Oop. Now you don't need too much, just want a little blob, and it seems to be escaping. So if you put this where you don't want it to go, it's impossible for you to sew through it, so like, less is more in this case. Just notice it's got a little bit where I don't want it, so back in the middle. There we go. And that will dry eventually, but we're only going to be sewing around the outside edges of it. So the easiest way that I've found to be able to film this to show you is, so we're up at the top of our felt, if you get to where your thread's showing. So if you just get one of your seed beads, so it might not blurred or anything, and then we've got that on, and then we're going to go through both layers. So we're going close to the edge of whatever you're using as your backing. So we've just probably gone 2 or 3 millimeters, something like that, and we're coming up through the felt. So I've got it sort of lying there on its side at the moment. But now we're going to come back through it this way. So like from like the original angle that we did when we were putting it on. Just pull that tight. But then as we're doing this, going all the way around, that will line all of our beads up like this, going around so that they're in a straight line. So going through it that way just lines them up. Just whatever you do, just make sure you stay in the same direction. So I like to go clockwise round, but if you want to go anti-clockwise, then that's up to you. So I've got my bead again. Just go a few mil over, not too much, and then back through like the front of it. And pull tight. And then this is what will cinch it in to make it look like more of a proper circle. So I'll show you that one more time. So get your bead, try and get your thread to do what you want it to do, and then go through both layers again and up. And then come back down and from the opposite side, and then through and pull tight. That way it will line them all up and they'll sit all nice for you. So I'm going to go all the way around here, and I'll come back to you at the beginning and show you how to just attach it on, and then we'll do the hanging and the drop on it, and we'll be done. So all my seed beads are now lined up, and we're just going to join this last one that I've put on with the first one that we put on. So just want to take it, so the thread's coming out from the front. We just want to come through. Oh, missed a bead there. Come through the front of the first one that we put on, and it will line it straight up. So I'm going to come back out these ones and just reinforce that. Stopping them, I'm not going to camera them. There you go. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put our thread protector on, and this is for us to be able to hang our earring hook from. Now luckily how I've put my beads on, I've come to the point of where I want it to come on, so I've done it in between two of the folded beads. So if we just come back up through there, and then I'm just going to take our thread protector, and like we did on the other, we're just coming up and down and around. And then come back down through the next seed bead. Slowly around, make sure that it goes on that little sort of bridge that's there. And again, I'm going to go back through just once more. Don't think that one wants me to go through it anymore. Depending on what size you've used, you'll only be able to pass through them so many times. Because my fingers don't want to stay steady now. I think I've been beading for too long. There we go. Right, so if it just comes down like that, just loosen it off. And then just put your fingers in like I've shown you before and just pull it down that way, just makes it a bit easier. Now to put the dangle in, we need to come from this point here down to here. So all we're going to do is just go around the edge. So we'll come up through one, and we're literally just going to zigzag to get round to the other edge. You could try sliding it through in between the bit that you've not glued, or if you've not glued at all you could do that. I'm just doing this because it's easier, to be honest. I've got to the other side now, and I'm wanting to come down so I'm parallel to where this pearl here, so I'm wanting to come here. So I've just come up, so I've sort of landed in the middle of two, so you just pick which one, you know, you'd prefer to go to the left or the right if that happens to you. So, and then how many did I put on this dangle? 3. So we're just going to take 3 more seed beads. Yeah, because I'm coming out of the right, make sure that you're coming out of the right side. I don't want to stay on. There we go. And I'm just going to take a crystal teardrop. And then I've got another bead cap. And just one more seed bead. And then come back through that. Hold it up, it might be easy for you to see. Then come back through that bead cap and all of those. And I find it, I'm going to get that tangled up in there. Just to hold on to the bit and then just pull the thread taut until you've got it to where you want. Like I said before, you don't want it to be too tight because obviously you want to have some movement in it. And then just come back up through whichever bead you choose. And I'm actually going to look on there. Now I'm going to come back down through the one next to it because it's in the middle, so it'll probably just pull it over a little so that it should be, you know, so it'll look more central compared to the other side. And then come back down again. You can tell I like to reinforce things. Through. There we go. And that's all our beading done. Just give it a little bit of a wiggle, just make sure that it's how you want it. Because now's the time for you to adjust it. If it's too tight or too loose, then because once you've tied it off, that's it. You can't really change it unless you snip all the beads off, and I don't think after you spent all this time you want to be doing that. So, and then I'm just going to do a little knot through one of these sort of back stitches from when we were adding the the edging seed beads. Just go through twice, I think. Yep. I'm going to come back up through the edge, up through the felt, so the end of the thread's going to be hidden away underneath the beads. And then careful not to snip any of your beads that you've just put on. And that's it. And we've got our earring pretty much finished. We've just got to put the earring hook on again now that we've done with the other ones. Turn it up. There we go. And we've got a lovely pair of earrings. I'll get them laid for you so you can actually see. Oh, I'll put them on you then. There we go. So yeah, that's probably takes you a little bit longer to make that pair of earrings compared to the other ones, but depending on what look you're going for, you can make them as complicated or as simple as you want them to be. So I'll just bring in the other ones that we've made. Okay, so that's that one. So yeah, so again, if you want to make these ones fuller looking, you can just add more beads. Yeah, that's just as simple as it is. So this is the one I did with you. Way down. And this is the sample one that I did before. Trying to get them to lay flat for you now. It does go flat. I think it's just one of the cases of when you're on camera it doesn't want to behave. I've probably made a couple of these probably a bit too tight, or the thread's just not in the right position. I can fiddle around and play with it anyway. Plus, I like that it's got that twist in it anyway. Excuse me. And then this is just the other blue pair of these that I did beforehand. So I hope you've enjoyed watching me create these pieces with the folded beads. I've got a few more ideas going around in my head that I might do a second video for. So if you've liked the video, if you could give me a thumbs up, that'd be appreciated. And if you've got any questions, just pop them in the comments. I'm happy to answer them, as I always am. And if you've not subscribed, you consider subscribing, that'd be appreciated too. And I'll look forward to talking to you next time. So I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Bye.